give you a little bit of a smorgasbord in 5 minutes about what Toastmasters is about. And eventually I think I'll give a talk a little bit more, because it's so important when we are artists, or we are photographers, or we are presenters of anything, to present well, so that we spend all this time learning to do something well. We want to be sure to present it well. And that's what I'm going to give you a couple of golden rules about. First, I have a question for you, though, and that is, what do you think people in this country and around the world are most afraid of?
Public speaking.
Public speaking, exactly. So, is there anybody in this room that's a little timid about public speaking?
Anybody who's afraid of it?
Or afraid of it? Yeah. Or was, or were, or a little bit. I think if we're not prepared, we can certainly be afraid of it. But it's like anything else, if we learn how to do it, and that's what Toastmasters is all about, by the way. And that's a group of, it reminds me a little of Alcoholics Anonymous. There are programs all around Carmel, Monterey, everywhere, morning, evening. Megan and I are in the Naval Postgraduate School Toastmasters group. And that's our home club. But there are clubs in 130 countries. And the whole point is we get together and practice giving talks on a variety of subjects. From presentations to humor to inspirational talk to a variety of sections that we can talk about. So a couple of things I wanted to point out to all of you today. One is, when you start your talk, have a smile, like I tried to do. If you're not having fun up here, the audience is less likely to have fun. So that's very important. Smile. Another thing is, stand on your feet. Don't sort of do this or whatever else you might do. Particularly if you're a little timid, you might do that. That's not to say if you have a reason for moving in a certain way, you might move differently. But the base of the core position is strong. The power presentation is both feet on the ground. And then I'd like everybody else to stand up with me for a minute too, because the other golden rule has to do with breathing. Now, if you're going to do relaxation breathing, which we want to do as we're about to speak and throughout our speech, let's just see you all do a nice deep relaxation breath, and I'm going to watch. Okay, let's do one more time. Okay. It's a mixed bag on the grade. Let's sit down. I think what some of you did just now was what we tend to do if we're not trained in yoga or in public speaking or in relaxation breathing. We breathe up here, and that actually makes us more tense and tight when we take a breath from our chest. We tend to be more tight. What we want to do is just the opposite. Let that pooch, don't be embarrassed about the pooch. I need to lose a few pounds myself. We want to breathe from the abdomen. So the correct breath is this. You see that? So you see my shoulders aren't rising at all. And frankly, with patients who are anxious that would come to see me about other things, we would often go over relaxation breathing if they were anxious about something. It's amazing how helpful that is. So practice this at home. Put your hand on your abdomen at first to do it. Okay, then you can add humor to your speech, and I'm already about to go over. So one of my favorite talks that I expanded on is, people will come up to me and say, when they find out that I'm a doctor, and they'll say, "What kind of doctor are you?" And I try to resist the temptation to say, "I'm a wonderful doctor," or "I'm spectacular."
Well, you should say that.
And I sometimes do. And my favorite example is my uncle, who was out in Illinois, and when he and his wife, my aunt, retired, they went into one of these assisted living facilities, and he was one of the few men there, because they're mostly older women at these places, and they would come up to him and say, "Oh, Dr. Gorsuch, what kind of doctor are you?" And he got so tired of answering, "Well, I'm an endocrinologist and I take care of diabetes and thyroid." So he finally decided he was going to answer, I'm a sex therapist. The little old ladies would turn around and run down. That's the end of my talk.
One, two, three.
I am David Dilworth. And before I go too far further, I want to introduce somebody else. This is a fellow who's very dear to my heart. We grew up together, and I've met a lot of very smart people in the world, world-leading people. I think he's the smartest guy I've ever met. His name's Hal Williams. We grew up together. Hello. So I'm here to talk about my photography. I make fine art photography, large color landscape photography. And here's an example of one of them. I call them magnificent moments in poignant places. I go all over the world to take my photographs, but some of the most magnificent things, like this one, were taken right here in Big Sur. I like to say I make protographs because there's no negatives involved, either physical negatives or negativity. I try to show the best parts of our natural world. It's something I don't often take for granted. I really appreciate growing up here. I think the key, if I can impart this on anyone else, is pick good parents. I had some of the world's best parents, and they ended up here. My mom actually introduced my father to Carmel on their honeymoon. So I showed up here, and Jesus, Big Sur is at our backyard. And springtime, which is just about to get us, I think it's one of the most magnificent places in the entire world. When the hills, these sculptured hills, they glow emerald green. It's just fills my heart. Anyway, you can see my photographs or protographs on my website, inspiringlandscapes.com, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's time. Do you only do these close-up, extreme close-ups, or you're doing full landscapes as well? Or
This is an unusual photograph. I do like taking some pictures of flowers, but some of my work that sells for the most money is these grand landscapes. There's one called Wildflower Avalanche, and it's on the side of a steep hill in Big Sur, just with this beautiful set of, I call them bloopin, poppies, and the green hills undulating into the distance, 17 ridges sometimes.
wow.
With a towering ice cream cone top of clouds, and the sea otters and the whales playing down below. It just reminds me of what a magnificent place this is. So yeah, and recently I had the delight of, I lived in British Columbia for a couple years in, what's the name of that place? Oh yeah.
Powell River?
Powell River. Powell River, Lund, and what's the name of the little place with the restaurant down?
Oakover?
Oakover, yeah, Oakover. Extraordinary place. It's the beginning of the fjords for British Columbia.
Desolation Sound.
Yeah. Desolation means without sun. Desol. Diesel.
Oh, you were there.
But it's actually spectacular. And then I also had the wonderful opportunity to go fly over the fjords and go explore some of the fjords in New Zealand. I'm going to give another talk on some of those adventures later, but you're all familiar with Yosemite? 3,000 feet vertical granite. You could hide Yosemite in Milford Sound. 5,550 feet
Wow.
vertical granite down to the
Wow.
ocean, and it goes down hundreds more feet.
Wow.
I love fjords. That's me.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry to say, my work was at Kevin Milligan's gallery on Lincoln Avenue until Kevin retired. And for all of you who know him, he's doing fabulous. He's coherent and speaking beautifully.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Good to know, thank you.
yeah.
You don't have a replacement for him.
I don't. Nobody can replace Kevin.
I mean,
Someone might
you don't-
succeed him.
What I'm saying is, your art is not for sale somewhere around here.
Nowhere in Carmel. The only place I'm showing right now is at the best fine art gallery in New Zealand. It's the Moray Gallery in Dunedin on the South Island. But I'm looking for another gallery. Maybe we'll find something. Yeah. Thank you, Hans.
Okay, let's do
Cheers.
I have once spoken before about my blog here, and just to let you know, a blog is a little writing, a little effort you can do in putting words down, and then I have it on Substack. So you go to Substack, and there you see it. Now I'll tell you why I wrote a blog, but before I do that, I have two things to tell you about. Well, one, a friend of mine, people always ask him, what do you do? He wanted to chase him away. He said he was a mortician. So if you ever want to get rid of people, just say you are a mortician. The other thing is, I have a friend who is quite sick and goes to a lot of physicians, and she had really a difficult time talking to them. And so she decided to have a little stuffed chicken. She has a little chicken. She changed her voice, almost like, like a chicken talks. And right away, she's happy and they're happy and it works out. So anyway, I thought I'd tell you first what I did on the blog, why my purpose. I love to write. I really enjoy doing so, like Edie loves to paint, and Fred likes to be a physician, and a photographer. Everybody likes something. I like to write. And I wanted to reach out to others in a positive and light-hearted fashion. Bring happiness, goodwill, and joy, maybe even laughter. In fact, one of my readers wrote, "I can't tell you how happy walking my ways makes me." The name of my blog is Walking My Ways. And that is my purpose. Another one said, "You made me smile, which is a good way to start the day." Well, the other reason of having a purpose of having a blog, it's good for your ego. If somebody writes something like that, you really feel good. So anyway, so that's my two. I love to write, and I wanted to reach out to people in a positive way. And the third is, I live in a 100-year-old house, which always requires attention. In the 40s, it was moved on rollers from downtown Carmel, but they used inferior sand with salt. So it started to crumble, and I had to replace the foundation. I painted, put staircase in the back, a lot of money. So when you have a blog, you can either have it free, mine is free, or you can be paid per subscription. And there is a paid subscriber, which I really appreciate. So anyway, the third reason was to get a little money. I will read you a blog. Actually, this is one I wrote about Edie some time ago. Like most Carmel-by-the-Sea streets, Mission Street has soul. In this case, it harbors the Thursday Farmers Market, has restaurants, court alleys, galleries, and more. And right in the middle is Edie Matsumoto and her gallery. Edie is the enthusiastic spirit behind paintings, fabrics, greeting cards, mugs, and more, and was recently written up in Carmel magazine, an endearing article. And once a month, Edie holds her Creative Connections, a bohemian salon. The Carmel magazine says the club's mission is to create, to inspire, and inspire to create. And over here, Edie has a wonderful art therapy if you're smiling, it's working. I mean, having this kind of philosophy can't be wrong. I have attended a number of these gatherings, and they introduce different ways of thinking, including philosophical thoughts, entrepreneurial ideas, and inspirational concepts, and focus on making the world a better and more loving and giving place. Well, I won't have time to have it all, but I mentioned I had two excellent speakers and what they spoke about, and I ended up with a blog saying, as Edie has a corner of a gallery often devoted there to the works of other budding artists, one quickly realizes the profound world of cheerful optimism and support that exudes from Edie, and then bounces off anyone nearby without fail. Fini. That ends my blog. And
Very
5
nice.
minutes.
I'm Joe DiNucci, Carmel resident and luckily friend of Edie and Fred. So really delighted to be here, and thank you all for showing up. I know you didn't come for me. There's 16 other people you came to see. I can't draw a line. I can't sing a song. I can't dance a dance. I love books, and for the last 15 years I've been involved creating them and getting them published.
Okay, ready.
So that's what we want to talk about. All right, first slide. So I'm Joe. Here we are. How to become an author. Or you might think better, the next slide says, why become an author? Because I don't know that you want to become an author, but maybe I'll give you some reasons why you might think about it if you're not already thinking about it. All right, let's move along. So you might want to be rich. That's a good idea. Does everybody want to be rich? You probably already are rich, but we live in Carmel. I got to have a certain amount of scratch. But, well, if you understand Hollywood math for the movie business, there's never any profit left over, right? Well, expenses were higher than expected. And then in the book business, at Amazon, and they take a 65% discount off the list price. So if you think you're going to make any money writing a book, you're delusional. It's not going to happen. You'll make some money, but you'll never make back what it'll cost to get you there in the first place. It's just going to get real. So you want to think about, maybe take a nap. If you still feel sick about it later, let's think about another reason why you might want to do it anyway. So why do it? Next slide. Oh yeah, so think about all the famous people you know. And what I bet you have in common is book, 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 book. They have a book. And the people you know that aren't famous, no book, no book, no book, no book. So the funny thing is, the odds are you probably either like writing, like Hans, or you like telling stories, or both. If you like those things, you have the first or second elements of DNA you need to become an author. So if that's something that gives you joy, to tell stories and to share them with other people, one way or another, maybe you want to become an author. Next slide. And people do it all the time. So the way I think about it is, you might want to think about a book that might inspire somebody, okay? Because you tell your story so that people learn something, so that they're informed about something, maybe inspired by something, so maybe you leave the world a better place. And a side benefit, which I'll get to, is authors are immortal. I've written Atul Gawande's book, Being Mortal, so I know we're not getting out of this alive, but there's a way to leave something behind that lives forever, and ever and ever and ever. We're still reading books that were written in the 7th century when books were invented. So think about it. You actually invest the time to create one, and for all you know, 500 years from now, in 27 whatever, people are reading, geez, this happened way back in 2025. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so it could be about anything, whatever you're interested in. Art, travel, cooking, photography, psychology, philosophy, travel, painting, anything. The question is, what do you care most about? That might inform what you write about. It might be your career, the work you did as a professional, the art you've created, the stories you've told, whatever. You might want to write fiction. Of the 35 or so books Silicon Valley Press has produced since 2010, 1 work of fiction, 34 works of nonfiction. Next slide. So, who's your book for? Probably for a start, your family, probably your friends, probably your family's friends and their friends. It's really for anybody who cares about this subject that you care a lot about. Again, any of those topics, there's a lot of people that care about any one of those, or something I didn't even think to list. So the market for your book is probably pretty substantial. That is, how much joy you can create by spreading it around. Next slide. That's a picture of my bookshelf. That's about a third of the books we've created since 2010. And let me go through a handful of them. Let's see, next slide. So Jolt is the very first book we did about the coming revolution in electric cars and why America must take charge. I'll skip the next one for a minute, come back to it. Fans have more friends. We have the data in this book that proves if you're a sports fan, you have more friends than other people, you're better educated, you're more affluent, you're more fulfilled, you're happier. We have the data to prove it. Bravo Zula was a book about vintage aircraft. My Pluck was Fred and his twin brother Blair's book on their phenomenal experiences creating some world-changing legislation relative to healthcare. You have to read it, it's a must. Next slide. So, if you have any interest in becoming an author, which I hope you do, for your sake, at least, then tell Eddie to invite me back and I'll talk a lot more about how you can actually do it. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I just have a quick question. I wrote a sci-fi book, Rex Writer, and I need what I think, I've already published it on Amazon, but I feel like it would benefit from a really good sci-fi editor. Do you know any of those people that I could hire to edit my book for me so I can rewrite it, make it better?
I'll help you find one.
Would
I'll
be
give you
able
a
to
card,
help me
yeah.
find some? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've been struggling with that.
Sure.
Thank you.
I love the name.
Rex Writer.
What a perfect name for a sci-fi writer.
Yes, sir.
We gotta wish you. I
Yes,
get a
sir.
I
picture
gotta get
too.
whoosh.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Whoosh.
Thank you.
Next up is Carrie, and Carrie, I also show my art adventure gallery at the Portola Plaza and Spa right in the heart of downtown Monterey on Alvarado Street. And he came in maybe a week ago or 10 days ago. And so he said, we were trying to talk to him, or the other gal was trying to talk to him, and he said, oh, I'm deaf. And I said, I don't know American Sign Language, but I know Japanese Sign Language. And he just got really excited. Oh, you know Sign Language, but I cannot talk to you because it's Japanese Sign Language. They're not universal. But anyway, so I invited him because he told me he's a photographer. He's gonna, he wrote something. Fred's gonna read a little bit about his bio while he is showing all kinds of his photography. So he told me he take photographs for pine cones and many other major events around here. So he's got beautiful thing he's going to show. And does anybody know sign language, American Sign Language? Oh, she does. Oh, you do too? Okay, perfect. Do you want to say hi or something? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so Carrie, yeah. So he wrote it, and the first gonna read some.
So, just some things about Carrie Belzer, and I'm going to read a few things, and tell me if you can't hear me, and I'll talk louder. But he's going to show some of his photographs and posters. He's obviously, you'll relate to this, Joe, he's a big Car Week guy, so he's done some wonderful pictures of Concours Week. He spent 5 years with the Carmel International Film Festival.
The facial expression is very, very important to him. Very, very subtle. Yeah. He mentions in the writing a little bit later, but he does a lot of sports photographs for Carmel.
For the Carmel Pine Cone, yes, thanks.
And then the facial expression is very important.
He does a lot of photography of cultural events. He's been residing in Carmel since 2017 and lived with his family in Monterey for over 50 years. Your father gave you a camera when you were 10 years old as a Christmas gift, and he's been very involved in photography ever since. He likes to take pictures of events where people express themselves, which is what he's just been alluding to, and has a very strong sense of people and what makes them tick. He particularly likes to catch the sights of athletes and their facial expressions. The work of his on these are great. Some local dignitaries.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, he can read lips. As you can see, he's got sense of humor. Yeah, we'll look back. Yeah. Good. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay.
And his bush.
Good afternoon. In your first 3 seconds, you set the tone for an interaction and possibly for the remainder of that relationship. 3 seconds. What do you do with that 3 seconds? This is true whether it's someone you're meeting for the first time or someone you've known forever. I have a very dear friend who received an email Friday night asking about her week. You know the email. It wasn't, how was your week? It was, what did you do this week? And if she doesn't respond to that email, it will be considered her resignation. Yes, some people are knowing the email I'm talking about. Yes. I wanted to reach out to her. She's my dear friend. I want to be supportive. But I also don't want to make her explain to me how she's doing. I don't want to make her reassure me in her time of stress. I want to be a good friend to her. Have you had a friend or family member who's lost someone, maybe lost a job, a pet, their house, their community, and wondered, how do you handle that first interaction with them? Well, for me, out of the goodness of my heart, I want to know, how are you? How are you doing? Are you okay? I read everything. I heard all about it. I've been so worried about you. But that's not necessarily helpful. So let's be mindful about our interactions. What is it that we really want to tell these people? If you have someone who's lost something and you want to support, what is it you want to say to them? Anybody?
Feel your pain. How can I help?
How can I help? So you want them to know you're there to help them. You want them to know that you feel their pain. that you're empathetic. Yes. Anything else?
You're not alone.
You want them to know that you're with them, right? So what are the words we can use to communicate this when we first see them in those 3 seconds? What are the words and behaviors we can use in those first 3 seconds when we see them? Yes.
Sometimes there are no words and you just give them a hug for a long time.
Body language.
Yeah.
Eye contact. A smile. That's right.
Sometimes I just say, it's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
That's it.
That's it. When someone is going through a serious trauma and they decide to get out of bed, put on real clothes, and go out in public and see people, telling them it's nice to see you, giving them a smile or a hug, tells them they're loved. It also tells them you're there for them. We try to balance wanting to show someone that we care, trying to tell them that we don't want to step on their trauma, but we're willing to step into it with them if they need us, if they want us in any way. Just a little bit of mindfulness beforehand helps people who are impulsive, like me, bridle our tongue so it says and communicates exactly what we want to communicate. That's the power of focusing on 3 seconds. And this is what I, the retired attorney, now do for fun. I coach people and speak to large groups on how to build stronger connection, how to communicate more effectively, how to enjoy our work more. That's me. Thank you. Thank you.
Time given. I'm excited to be here today because I'm going to share with you an in-progress painting and talk to you a little bit about how my art practice plays into transformation. I'm Nathan Foxton.
Nathan Foxton.
Yes.
Thank you.
These are examples, or a example of finished work. So I just have like a few cards if you want to see like what something that looks that is complete looks like. And transformation is important to me because life is continually about change. Sometimes we feel really great in one chapter of life, and one way or another we're going to transition into another chapter of life. And so sometimes that comes naturally, sometimes it doesn't. And I like to use a combination of different techniques and practices, both painting and writing, to kind of process. I'm a big processor, and I also enjoy stepping into alongside other people and helping them process if I can. So part of that is being a teacher, part of that is trying to be a good friend, or even to like a stranger. If they, sometimes you encounter a stranger, you feel like something's like bubbling up inside of them, and you kind of poke a little bit, or you see if like you're meant to be part of the venting process in that moment. But so I was trained as a plein air or an observational painter. That was kind of my schooling, and then going through life, kind of realized that doing that didn't necessarily include my own voice. And so I went from doing like big plein air paintings to doing kind of going back into a more surrealist agenda of sorts. And so when I moved here in 2021 to California, I joined the Institute for Historical Study, because it's kind of a very, if you like books, they're an organization of writers and historians, and they get together and they give presentations and do that kind of thing. And they have a cool opportunity. You can use the UC Berkeley library system if you join their organization. So I went and looked at surrealist notes of these authors and artists would submit their notes in journals, and I would search, and I sort of started doing automatic writing more, which is just kind of stream of thought writing. Has anyone done The Artist's Way or read that book? Yeah, it's a pretty so similar to like the morning pages, and automatic writing is kind of like in there. So I will, what I'm currently doing in terms of this body of work I'm building here in California, is I'll have a few canvases or a collage and a drawing, and then I'll also do these automatic and just fill pages and kind of start reflecting on what's going on in my life and work back and forth between these different paintings. So rather than just have a set image beforehand that I just start executing, I kind of compile like little observations and allow in a cartoon language for things to evolve in the image. So it starts off with spots of color, and I like dynamic compositions, and maybe that spot of color turns into the background, maybe turns into an object in the foreground, but I start to play with that because I do get a deep sense of satisfaction in the visual realm. And I think we also, a lot of our brain is dedicated to visual processing. So as much as I love language and what is articulated through speech, I also believe that sometimes people are communicating through other means. So that's why part of I value art highly, because I think that there's a lot of subtle things that maybe we haven't articulated with our words yet, but that we are manifesting in the world. So painting is part of that for me. So so I currently will build a body of work around one motif, and then each painting I'll tweak or change a little bit, and I bounce back and forth between them. So they're not linear. They don't go from one painting A, painting B, painting C. Sometimes I will even go outside and paint in the park, and maybe a conversation that someone has with me in the park will influence the painting a little bit. So I actually allow the community I'm in and the time and place where I'm living to kind of gently help mold the work. So this was very kind of cathartic for me, because I'm finding the words of how to speak about how I'm going about painting in this moment, and I thought this was a great opportunity. So thinking, this is a little painting I think can go with me. So I'm still doing plein air painting, and that kind of incorporates into the quality of place. So I was just down in Point Lobos, and I have a few paintings that are going on down there, and so that's kind of part of what brings me down here. Does anyone have a question or observation or anything?
My question
Sure.
is, what are you doing? I know you're loving and enjoying your art.
Yeah.
I think I heard you teaching.
I used to teach. So I was an adjunct professor for about 5 years in Indianapolis. I taught design classes, drawing, art history. Did a lot of, it was also curating at a nonprofit art center, and just kind of ready for that chapter to move on. And the pandemic kind of propelled me, and I spent 10 months in Chattanooga, Tennessee, did a lot of hiking and waited for the world to figure out what was going to happen. Sold a lot of paintings in 2020. I sold 40 something paintings in 2020.
Wow.
But everyone had that pandemic money that, I was like, gotta go spend it on something.
Wow.
And then I moved here, and I've been juggling some work, but doing some side jobs that give me time to paint. So I have had a studio at 1890 Bryant in the Mission of San Francisco, and I've just started to get a little storefront space on Geary, so on the Lower Nob Hill area, a little bit gritty, but there's a First Thursday Art Walk, so I'm kind of excited about regularly showing paintings in that little storefront space on a regular basis. So it's kind of what my,
Great.
Very good.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Whoosh.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I am Shannon Hughes. I moved to the area about 3 years ago, and I am here to talk about a barter fair that I'm starting. I really enjoy making things. I make homemade food items, and I do arts and crafts, and often I make more than I can consume as one person, and so I really like coming together in community with other people who make things, and we trade and swap where no money exchanges hands. So I am starting a barter fair here on the peninsula, and we have our first event on March 22nd at the Monterey Public Library in the afternoon, and I've got some flyers in the back. And I just want to show you a little bit about the things that I'll be trading, and encourage you to think about anything that you might like to make and trade, and or people that you might suggest might also enjoy making or trading things. So one of my favorite things to make is chocolate, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I make my own bean-to-bar chocolate bars that I make in my home kitchen, and then I take the next step and transform the chocolate into chocolate truffles, which are usually pretty popular at the barter fair. I also make my own jam, so I get PK strawberries from the farmers markets, and I make jam. I also did some pear jam this year, so I'll be bringing those to barter. I go up to Aptos and I pick olives at the olive trees, and I found some really interesting things about olives. I've been curing them just for about 2 or 3 years, and I make about 8 different varieties of olives, but what I didn't realize is that all the olives come off of the same exact tree, and it's just what you do with them after that creates a Castelveltrano versus a Kalamata olive versus a Saturn olive, something I didn't know.
Wow.
I also do some crafty things. I take soap and I felt the outside of the soap. So you've got a little scrubby, little exfoliant. I also make soap that doesn't get put in felt, using vegetable-based oils. I really like paper. I worked for a paper company for years, so I've got lots of paper samples. So I make little things like books that people can put photos in or quotes. And I also take old calendars and I make my own greeting cards and my own envelopes. And then I do other things with stamping and glues and stickers and things like that. So like I said, I love making things. I love sharing what I make with other people. And I love filling my pantry and decorating my walls with things that other people make. And that's the concept behind Barter Fair. One of the things that we're going to be doing at this first Barter Fair is each artist will rotate through, but I'm going to show a demo at the end of our Barter Fair, and other people will do demos at other fairs. And so I'm going to talk about how I make chocolate. So I thought I'd give you the 1-minute quick overview of how chocolate making works. So I get imported beans from other countries. These happen to be from Tanzania. And I roast the beans in a coffee roaster, and then I crush them or crack them, and then I winnow them. Anybody know what winnowing is?
Yes, sir.
A little bit. What I do is I'm removing the husks from the cacao nib. And so I actually do that with a big bowl in my backyard and a hairdryer. And I move the bowl around and the husks fly into the garden, and then I'm left with a big bowl full of nibs. So that's winnowing. Then I grind it, and I put my beans or my nibs in a stone grinder for 72 hours, and it goes 24 hours a day. Drives my husband a little crazy because it's very loud, but it takes the nibs and it grinds it down so it's a nice, soft, smooth chocolate bar. I then mix and heat it. I block it, which is pouring the chocolate into cookie sheets, and let it cool. I temper the chocolate, put the chocolate in molds, and wrap it, and I'm left with these bars. And the bars only have 3 ingredients. They have the cacao. I add back a little bit of cocoa butter, which actually comes from the beans themselves, and that creates a little smoother mouthfeel. And then I add some coconut sugar. So those are the 3 ingredients in chocolate, a little bit about the process. And I would love to see any of you at the Barter Fair, again, March 22nd at the Monterey Public Library. And again, I've got some flyers if you know of anyone that likes to make and share things.
What hour is that?
It's from 2 to 4 at the Monterey Public Library.
You have flyers?
I do. Yep, right on the back table there.
And you've done this kind of bartering before successfully, obviously, because you're still doing it. It's new to me.
It's new to the Monterey Peninsula in terms of that I know of, but I used to live in Seattle and I was part of a barter fair community there. And so one of the first things I did when I moved here was, where's the closest barter? And there wasn't one. So I'm starting one.
Could you just tell us real quickly, how do you do the barter? Do you find something you like and you say, I have this, and
exactly.
Just exchange?
So I'd set up my table and I'd put my items here and I'd say, Bob, I really like you, I like the fact that you just brought some woodworking, and I would really like to trade one of my containers of beans for your whistle that you did in woodworking. And you get to decide whether or not that makes sense. If you're allergic to chocolate, you'd say, thank you, Shannon, but no thank you. Or you might say, that actually sounds great, let's do a trade. And we would trade. And so it's just kind of in your mind, you think about the value. I find it to be a really generous community, and but the trading is sometimes a little intimidating the first time you do it, but it gets easy because people will probably really like what you have. And if you were allergic to chocolate, but I still really wanted your whistle, I might talk to Fred, and maybe Fred teaches Toastmaster classes, and we could do a three-way trade where you would get something that you want, I would get something I want, and then I give something to him. So that happens too.
Do you allow at the barter show, do people stand up and take a moment to express what they have so that everybody hears them say, I have this, and each person introduce themselves just like this for 2 minutes, just a moment?
That's exactly what we're gonna do. Yep, so each person will have a chance to just take a minute and say who they are and what they brought, and also what kind of things they might like. I might say, I really wanna fill my pantry with other people's homemade items, or I might say, I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, or I've always wanted to learn how to speak French. And that gives people the opportunity to know a little bit about what else might be there.
You could probably offer several different items depending on what you have, like.
Exactly. I mean, I brought a sample. I would probably bring like 3 of these kinds of items, but I'd bring multiple chocolate bars, multiple things of jam. And then the next time I come, I might have totally different offerings. Excellent.
You had me at chocolate.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being such a good audience. Thank you.
I kind of forgot to introduce her, but I met her at the farmer's market I did last Thursday for the first time. So I'm over there if anybody wants to come see me at the farmer's market. And she walked by and I'm starting this barter fair. So where can I publicize it? Okay, I know exactly the place. It was good timing.
I know.
Yeah.
Hi, well, good to be here again. I'm Susan Clark. I'm a realtor with Carmel Realty Company with creative leanings. And what I'm going to talk about today is my experiences as a TV host with American Dream TV. And I started doing this, well, it's almost a year now. And I have 6 segments done, filming another one coming up next week. And basically, it's a TV show. It's shown on the streaming services, and a lot of the streaming services anyway, like Amazon Prime and Roku and a bunch of the ones I don't even know what they are, but it's also online. But the show is all about highlighting the community, our community, Carmel, Monterey Peninsula, and the whole idea is to have positive news and positive energy and not negativity. So I have interviewed, I've interviewed Eddie, some of the artists in town, some of the business owners in town. The one we're going to show today is all about Pack Rep Theater. And as I hope all of you know, there's been a great total redo of the theater. How many have been there so far? Oh, good.
Years
If you haven't been there, you'll want to see it, and this hopefully will inspire you to go. It's a beautiful, I'm interviewing Stephen Moorer, who is the executive director and founder of Pack Rep and has been there for a long time, and after being closed, I think for 4 years, and raising millions of dollars to get all this done, and he'll say more about that in the video.
Welcome to American Dream. I'm Susan Clark in Carmel-by-the-Sea. Carmel is a picturesque community along the coast south of San Francisco, and it has always attracted artists and creatives. Today we have a special treat. We're going to talk with Stephen Moorer, who is the executive director and founder of Pack Rep Theater. Its home, where they perform, is at Golden Bough Playhouse. That's just gone under a huge renovation, and I'm so excited to show it to you. Come with me, and let's go talk to Stephen and see this fabulous theater. So good to see you again.
Oh, it's great to have you. I'm so honored that you're going to share our little adventure here with your viewers. Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. Well, where should we start?
All right, well, we'll just start right here in the old lobby.
Okay.
Everyone will recognize the old lobby, although it's got a new paint job, and we got more names on the floor with our tiles.
Yeah, this is wonderful. These are all donors.
These are all donors.
And here they serve the cookies and the wine.
Cookies and wine, etc. And the box office, as it always has been, just revamped and a little prettier and a little cooler. All right, there it is, the grand stairway.
Beautiful, yes.
After 4 years of building and raising money and putting up with all the challenges, This is the last piece. So this room will also be used for receptions and parties, special events.
Okay.
It'll be a source of income
So
for us.
somebody can rent
we
this
can
if
rent
they'd
this
like.
room
Oh,
for
this
a
is a
private
great
party.
idea.
Or if they're coming here as a group to see the show, they could reserve the room and do a private reception and then go to see the show as a group.
Oh,
So we can set up for
would be
people who
really
want to do theater parties. So if you come here and turn and look at this new auditorium, it's just amazing. And we are just so thrilled with the way it turned out.
And pretty much every seat has a great view.
Yes, every seat, as you can see, follows the curves. So
Yes.
every seat is angled into direct center. So you are standing on our revolving turntables.
Yes.
These were permanently installed in our first phase, which was in 2011. And then
okay.
a brand new addition, we now have a video wall that is 16 by 32.
So you're projecting a video.
So instead of projecting from the
Where?
front, where you get shadows and you're sometimes projecting on the actors or on the set, the back wall, it's like having the ultimate in rear projection, but because it's really high level video panels, it is sharp and beautiful. It's an amazing piece of equipment and a huge investment and a game changer for us. The Circle Theater.
Oh, yes.
So this theater, again, hasn't been open since the pandemic closed us. We were about to open. We're focusing on the main theater. We just spent $10 million building rebuilding that main theater. So all the shows are going to be up there the rest of this year and through the middle of next year.
That's an amazing amount of money in a small community like
Well,
this.
it was
Yes.
a tremendous challenge. This historic, 114-year-old building. I mean, that's the foundation, the ground that was, has had theaters on it since then. We literally raised this building down to its studs. I mean, the walls were down, all the plasterboard walls off
all
the
the
walls,
electrical, all the plumbing,
all the
everything
electrical
is all
plumbing,
new.
all was ripped out. It's all brand new, all new plumbing, all new electric.
Well, you should be able to just concentrate on theater now and not buildings.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. It's this particular view right over the main entrance I just love.
Yes.
And for concerts, people come up here and they're dancing, they're standing up, they're dancing in the aisles, and they go.
This is really a bird's eye view.
Oh, it really is. Well, we just want everybody to come and enjoy themselves and just check out the new theater. And whether it's the rock and roll show or whether it's Finding Nemo with the kids and the grandkids and the great grandkids, just come on down and check out the new Golden Bough.
As they say, there's no business like show business, and I can't wait to see the upcoming performances that Pack Rep has coming. Thanks for coming on this theatrical journey with me, and I look forward to our next adventure and our next segment. Until then, I'll see you around town.
Thank you. And if you'd like to see some of the other segments that have been done, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@CarmelRealtor. I think that's easy to remember. And you can see the one that Eddie was in and all the other segments that I've done so far.
Who was your videographer?
Mike, I should have said that.
Yeah, right.
He would kill me if I knew.
House
Don't
of
tell
Eight.
Mike I didn't
House
give
of
him
Eight. House of
credit.
Eight. Mike Buffo, House of
Yes, Mike Buffo, House of Eight, has done the video on all of the American Dream TV segments that I've done. He's fabulous. And he's not just a videographer. I mean, he coaches me, he directs me, he tells me what to do, and has great ideas. And a couple of us, Shannon and Shaheen, is that right? Go to a meeting once a month called Creative Mornings. It's on last Friday of every month. And some of you artistic people would love it. There are wonderful presentations once a month. On Friday mornings at Wave Street Studios. So, and it's free.
This coming Friday, the 28th.
That's right, this Friday, 28th. It's totally free, and it starts We gather about 8:30. The presentation starts at 9, just for an hour and a half. Great venue and another group of great people. Thank you.
Okay, great.
We need to
Oh, my
clap.
wish. Thank you.
I confess that this is one of the most important and most enjoyable days of my month, to be here with Eddie and all of you. And I learned so much, and it's just such a creative environment. So today I have a surprise for you. I have an extraordinary painting here, and I also confess that I had to borrow it from Fred Sadler's private art gallery. Fred, unbeknownst to his beautiful, lovely, loving wife, painted a portrait of his wife that nobody knew about. And so I have this right here. Oops, sorry. And doesn't it kind of look like Eddie? And Fred is, he has a latent talent, but he labeled this Magani no Nai Joshi. Eddie, you know what that means? It's Japanese, for heaven's sakes. Magani no Nai Joshi. Lady without glasses. No, I'm kidding, but it does kind of look like Eddie. Does anybody recognize this painting? Not you. Anybody? It is famous. It is absolutely one of the most extraordinary paintings in the world today. And I'll tell you why I think it's more extraordinary than that. This is a painting by Gustav Klimt. Who's ever heard of Gustav Klimt? Yeah. All right.
That girl with the pearl earring, isn't he have the?
No.
That's Vermeer.
I have the kiss.
I'm going to give you a quick art history course on Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt was a child prodigy in art and lived in Vienna, or just Baumgartner, right outside Vienna. He was actually privileged to attend the Vienna Architectural School of Design. And he excelled there, and so much so, they commissioned him when he graduated to paint the ceiling in terms of three themes: courage, freedom, and honesty. And after he finished his masterpiece of those three areas, they deemed it pornographic. And so they fired him summarily, and he started an art group. Now, Klimt was interesting. He painted in gold, one of the few painters in gold, but he painted in a number of genres. And this painting happens to be, Eddie, in the Japanese art form of Rinpa, the Rinpa School of Art from Japan. So what do you see here? Just a thought, quick.
Was not painted by Fred.
A woman. A woman, yes. You see lots of ornaments. Well, this is the ornamental philosophy or a genre of his style. And he loved to paint women. He had 14 illegitimate children. He never married. And almost all of his models were prostitutes in Vienna. So he had a very active, should I say, studio. So some of his paintings were painted through a telescope, if you can imagine that. Very unusual. But he did paint women quite often. Additionally, his paintings were celebrated all over Europe. And one of the biggest fans of Klimt was a gentleman by the name of Richard Lauder. Anybody heard of Richard Lauder? Has anybody heard of Estee Lauder?
Yeah.
He was probably the greatest patron of Klimt. Bought about $500 million worth of Klimt's paintings and now displays them in art galleries all around the world.
Wow.
The other person that has been an aficionado of Klimt was a lady by the name of Oprah Winfrey. She spent $88 million on one of Klimt's paintings. So, extraordinary. This painting was sold at the Sotheby's Art Gallery. Would anybody care to guess how much it sold for? $108.4 million. And that was the second largest payment or sale in Sotheby's history for art. And so, to me, this is even worth more than hundreds of millions of dollars because my daughter painted it and gave it to me. So Julia Hu, she's the master artist here, and just did such a great job. So this is an exact copy of Klimt.
Oh.
It's called Woman Without a Fan. But it's quite beautiful, I think.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Any questions? I'll have Julia answer.
Your outfit goes really well with the painting.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Good
Yeah,
choice.
it does. I didn't even know that. But thank you.
I'd
Yeah.
like to hear a comment on why she
Oh, okay,
happened
there
to
we
do
go.
this.
I'm just a hobbyist, so I was quite embarrassed. Klimt is incredible when you look at his painting. It's luminous, and he paints just layers upon layers to get the transparency of skin, and I just really love him. I painted this because I used to like to paint just things out of my imagination, but I actually felt like just practicing and trying to copy masters was a really fun way of learning how to paint. And so I love Klimt, and I've tried a couple of his paintings, and Uncle Bob sort of liked this one, and so I gave it to him.
And I'll cherish it forever. And it kind of does look like Eddie. So. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, my name is Troy Patterson. I'm a native of the Monterey Peninsula, and I have many interests. Nighttime photography is one of them. I kind of came to nighttime photography not by intention, but I enjoy walking at night because the world is quiet. There aren't a lot of people around, and it's just very peaceful. I read an article about what our brain processes throughout the day, and it's about 70% of what we process, our brain processes, is visual input, speaking to your comment. And so at nighttime, it seemed to me that I was more creative. Of course, I'm in a different, I'm not in beta brainwave state, like during the working day, that kind of thing. With a combination of walking and whatnot that I do, I probably go into alpha, probably theta brainwave state. It's more creative, more in touch with myself. And so then through this, experiencing all of this, I started taking notice of the scenery, of course, and appreciating it more. And I realized that in the darkness, for me, in the darkness, there's more room for imagination, I think. During the day, of course, we see so much, and of course, our brains are very busy processing all of that. And and everybody takes pictures during the day, that's pretty common, and including myself. And for a lot of years, most people didn't have a camera that would take images at night, didn't have good low light sensitivity, that sort of thing. But my old iPhone 12 Pro Max has pretty good low light sensitivity. And so I started taking pictures. And so here's some examples of what I take and the kind of stuff that I get to see at night. I have maybe 10,000 photos that I've taken. And I'm not, with these pictures, I'm not concerned about high resolution. And really, I think along the lines that I want to paint certain ones. And I'm not looking to do fine art with them, but to do a good simile. And and I like the, a little bit lower resolution quality of it. To me, that contributes to the idea of more for the imagination instead of having everything so perfectly defined. And this is one of my favorites, of course, that fog and the colors, the pastels in the sky and all of that. But yeah, I've got about 10,000 photos. Most of them are Monterey. I've taken pictures in Carmel and down the coast a little bit and a few other places. Carmel, I like the big scenes, the big sky. It's a little different in Carmel. You don't get big sky because you have a lot of trees. So, and small streets and that kind of thing. But that's on another time, another day, I'll change my style and get those tighter shots and whatnot, like here in Carmel. But yeah. So there you are.
When you blow it up like that, do you lose resolution, or is that how much?
It does become more pixelated.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is the first time I've blown any of them up.
Oh.
Usually I'm looking at it on a small screen or my laptop screen. But I love the look. I love that it's not a real high resolution, and I do intend to do that as well. But that's another, and then I'll probably do prints of those as well. But yeah, so.
Troy, where did you take them to blow them up?
Staples.
Oh,
Beyond.
well, that's easy.
Well, I thought I had another week before coming and presenting, and then I double-checked the email yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God, it's tomorrow. So I went
Just give them the photo on a flash drive or
to
something?
emailed it to them. I could probably do it on a flash drive as well, but I emailed it.
Because I think we all have thousands of photos that we probably should, look for some good ones, and
For
that
sure.
really looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Each. So this is supposed to be a matte finish. I guess it is. Maybe a gloss might have been a little better for it. Oh. It was like $19 without a expedite fee per picture. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So, I am a physician, and I did 24 years of practice and then did another 24, there's a little bit of overlap, with teaching.
And your name is?
Valerie Berry. Thank you, Fred. So, in Toastmasters, they say not to interrupt the speaker.
When you're really an old friend, you can do it.
All right. So, the teaching of medicine can be a little bit overwhelming and dry. And so what I did was I tried to bring art and poetry and music and experience into it. And so you're all going to learn experientially the difference between the heart rates of toads, birds, and humans. So I want this group about here to be toads. I want this group here to be humans, and about 5, and Eddie, people here, you're birds. Okay, we're gonna practice first. And at the end of this, I want you to whoosh each other because you did all the work. Okay, toads. This is what you are going to say in unison. Toad, 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 toad. Got it. Okay. Birds. This is what you are all going to say in unison. Bird, 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 bird. Okay, great. Okay. This group here are the humans. And what you say is human, 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 human. Great. Okay. So this also is a little bit evolutionary and a little bit ecological disaster. So I will bring you in group at a time, and then I'll turn to your group and cut you off. And then the last thing we'll do is just fade out. Okay? We'll fade out the last group. Okay, you ready? Okay. Toad. Keep going. Toad. 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 Birds. Bird, 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 Give me one more toad. Toad. That's the world coming back after the humans have all died. So that's how I got the students fired up about the evolutionary differences between the heart rates in these three species. So that's it. Thank you. So whoosh each other. Whoosh.
Hello everyone, Jonica Stagnaro, and I love that demonstration. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. I've been a Waldorf teacher for 25 years, and that's how we teach, through artistic ways. And you know why toads are a symbol of death?
They eat their own skin?
No, because they're croaking. So on that note, I wear many hats. Since I retired 3 years ago, I work for the Arts Council as an artist teacher going into schools. Although this year it's been a wash because of Salinas and their financial woes. I work for Art Abilities, working for neurodiverse clients, and that's wonderful. And I write. I'm a Substack, so Into the Mystic is my publication, and so that's kind of like my theme of what I do. Into the Mystic. It's all kind of spiritual. So I have 11 books that I've written, all independent. So through Amazon. This is the teachings of Yama. I do art, and they all have kind of a mystical bent to it. I give readings of tarot and things like that, teach meditation. Coming down here 3 years ago now, work at having a studio in Carmel at Ocean and Mission above the grill has really allowed me to get in touch with all this incredible artistic community, and I've really enjoyed it. So I have a short little bit I'd like to read from the teachings of Yama, and this came about, this book, through a dream with death, or Yama, so that's a Hindu name for death, and it turned into a poem, and then from that it turned into a book over a year. So it's a dialogue between me and Yama. So, and I've taken a lot of some of it's autobiographical, others are from traditional spiritual stories that I've interwoven through this narrative. Now ask me another question. Why do people suffer? Why all this pain? Come with me and I will show you. No longer upon the mountaintop, we stood behind some trees in a jungle entangled in vines. In front of us was a clearing to which a well-beaten path led. In the middle of the clearing lay a pit. Why are we here? I asked. He held up his finger for silence. Suddenly the jungle reverberated from the trumpeting of elephants. Then I saw a man, his eyes wide in fear, running down the path looking over his shoulder to where the trumpeting sounds of the elephants issued. Oh no, I cried, ready to dash out. The pit, the man doesn't see the pit. Yama held my shoulder. Watch. As I feared, the man fell unmindful into the vast pit. With one hand, he caught hold of a thick root. The elephants came and ran around the pit in rage. For a moment, he felt safe. Then he noticed at the bottom of the pit awaited an enormous serpent, its maw open wide, its hot breath scorching the man's skin. Then he noticed on the root a rat, which ever chewed upon the root. Above his head, he now heard the buzzing of a swarm of angry bees. Just when the man was near despair and ready to let go, a drop of honey fell onto his lips. Tasting so delicious, so sweet, the man forgot his predicament, and holding tightly onto the root with one hand, he held out the other to catch another drop of honey. I turned away, for I could not bear to see the inevitable. Who is he? And what did it all mean? My guide looked at me and smiled, touching my chest. He is you. He is everyone. He is anyone who believes he is but a body, a pitiful creature encased in decaying flesh. He runs upon the path of life, running through the tangled jungles of lifetimes, of habits and impressions, likes and dislikes. The elephants are his desires, pursuing him, trumpeting in fear of non-fulfillment. The pit is hope. The root he hangs onto is his good deeds of other lifetimes. Gnawing upon it is the rat of time. Below him in the vastness, bottomless pit, awaits the serpent of passions, lust, and anger. Buzzing around his head are the bees of his thought, ready to sting him any moment and send him down into the awaiting jaws. Yet the man forgets all these dangers, all this suffering, and holds on tighter just for another sweet taste of pleasure the mind has made. Instead of running upon the path over and over again, falling into the same pit with each new lifetime, from that path he could leave. He could say that this path he wants no more. However, he remembers that taste of honey, and so he continues. No one causes man to run that path and to suffer. Thank you.
My name is Pam McCormick, and I'm so happy to be here and to just share what we know and what we do. So this was part of my New Year's resolution. I wanted to push into the art community a little bit more. I currently teach at the Pacific Grove Adult School, and I mostly teach math because that's what helps people graduate, is getting that math. They get everything else. But I'm very grateful to be partly retired and to help other people on their way and remove barriers for them to go on for the rest of their life. So what I'm going to share today is my watercolor of a mom. I did this for Mother's Day. I had a fabulous mother who was hilariously funny, and she just brought so much love to my life, and still I feel her with me. So that's what I'm doing in my spare time. I use German paints because they tend to remain bright And I've tried to do landscapes and trees and other things, but they always end up being flowers. So I guess I'm just fascinated by new growth and the miracle of just like living here on the peninsula and just all the natural beauty. Anyway, thank you for your attention and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Sure. About your process, because the colors there are so vibrant, it looks more like crayon or something. Can you tell me, other than using German paints, how you have your watercolor look so vibrant?
Sure. I use they look like pieces of chalk, and then I kind of ground it up, add a little bit of water, and kind of make more of a paste. So it's more bright. But yeah, it's not like the very gentle, opaque watercolors that you normally see. So it's kind of like a cross between, acrylic and watercolors. But yes, my first watercolor with the German paints, I'm like, oh, this is it. They don't fade, right? Like 10 minutes later. So I literally just like to watch paint dry and move.
I'm Victoria Lee, and I am with the Monterey County Art Alliance, which is in Salinas. Their artworks, so you can see my work over there if you want to come and take a look at it. And I'm nervous. I didn't know what to expect here. I have not really spoken and shown my art like this before, so if you come to the gallery, you'll see all of my, well, not all of it, but a lot of it. And now I have a series of poppies. So I kind of get these obsessions, and then I just work on that like as much as I can, and then I have a whole collection of poppies. This has got a little bit of poppies in it, and I can just show you this series. I actually did it because we were combining. If you look on the Art Alliance Instagram, they have me features for Black History Month. So this was a combination of trying to put together Black History and Valentine's Day, because it's in the same month. So when I originally did this, it was done on handmade paper with burlap cord and ink and cotton to resonate with the history, Black history, from using things that are homemade. And I remember my grandmother used to make my dad's pants with burlap because they were so poor living in Michigan. So they lived on a farm. She made everything, like their clothes, the soap, everything was homemade. My dad had to slop the pigs in the morning, and he said it was horrible because he didn't like the smell getting on the school bus. But that is a part of our history. So then I morphed it into something for Valentine's Day. And so when I created this is the original. So I don't have the original in the gallery, but this is done with ink. It's illustration marker and ink. And then what I did is I made copies. And so what you'll see if you go to the gallery, these are all the copies. And then I turned it into a craft. And then I also put it on items. So we have stickers, magnets, clothing. So I just mass produced the whole thing.
Cool.
And so this was the end product for Valentine's. And it's like this.
Oh.
So I made it so that they could write a little love note on the back and then use it as a card or an ornament and hang it in your car window or whatever. So then this is filled with cotton. So.
Oh, wow.
So I plan to do, and because I'm so obsessed, I get obsessions, I'm going to do a really big mural, because I do pretty much larger projects. So I'm going to make a larger one, and then these are going to be placed on the large one. And it should be finished by probably April. So if you want to see it, you can come to, it's 262 Main Street in Salinas. And we're open Friday through Sunday, 4 to 4. No, it's 2 to 4. Sorry. A little nervous. So that's it. If you want to, I have a ton of these, so if you want to pass it around.
I like that it's both like 2D, but also an object.
Yes.
With the materials, so it's you can feel it. It's like a
It's
tactile.
a crafty,
Yeah.
three-dimensional.
And
And
what
I,
is-
huh?
I'm sorry, is that on paper, printed on paper?
Yes,
or-
I had it, see, I created it on paper, just in like a notebook.
Mhm.
So the ink goes through. It's amazing how it actually looks when you look at both sides,
Mhm.
which is kind of neat to me. And then I went and got it copied and put it on like a cardstock.
Mhm.
And then that's how I put them all together.
Very nice, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Whoosh.
Thanks.
Okay, hi, I'm Shaheen Schmidt, and I'm so glad I found you about months ago. And I almost forgot about today. I was actually been busy for this upcoming art show at Pacific Groves Art Center, which is March 7th. And we were wiring the back of my canvases. And Mark was helping me. And I looked at the calendar and like, oh my God, it's 2:20. No, it's 1:20. We have half an hour to get to Carmel. So I jumped into the shower. So I forgot to bring any paintings with me. And I was just sitting there surrounded with paintings.
Is this on the PG Art Center website or your website? I can
Your
pull it
website,
up.
ShaheenSchmidtArt.com.
Okay.
Well, some of those new, they're not on the website
you have
yet.
the picture there
But
too.
so, I just want to tell you, this is the PG Art Center's, because they're a group of artists, but I have a solo room there. It's a big room, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I just made a postcards, and I just want to say something about. Do I have 5 minutes?
Yes.
Talk
Yes.
about any of these in particular or any
Some
other
of these
tabs?
gonna be in there, but
Okay.
so what I want to say, the paintings is called. The show is called New Beginnings, and spring is a very special time for me. First of all, my birthday is right there. It's our Persian New Year. The spring equinox is our Persian New Year. And so this show is about, let me read a little bit about what I wrote. Nature is in a continuous rhythm of transformation, each change being the start of a new beginning. Our inner nature is deeply connected to those natural cycles outside. We celebrate spring with vibrant colors, energizing our entire being. My paintings are inspired by the natural environment as well as my own inner nature. This collection has evolved over several years to uplift viewers and communicate a sense of awakening. It is very important for me visually to really lift up my spirits and my viewers' spirits. We are in a world right now that everything outside of us is trying to distract us, is trying to take us into a rabbit hole, you know. And I feel like what I can do, first of all, for myself, because it always starts with yourself, your inner world, and then it reflects outside of you. With colors, shapes. Some of my paintings are symbolic, like the passion, or some of them you can,
This passion?
yes.
Okay. There's a heart.
Yes, this, like, for example, this was part of like my culture. Those are the seeds underneath. That's how inspires me. Some things from my culture, some symbolic, some philosophy, some stories, some things inspires me to then take up an idea and go from there. So, so this is actually a very large painting.
And some of my friends, when they saw this, they said, this is different. This is more like a landscape. You know, we can recognize there's a tree, and because some of my work is more symbolic. And when at this show, there's going to be a wall of paintings that you do recognize, shapes, colors, and there's a wall that they're more symbolic, and they're telling you a story of every human psyche, spirits. But I tend to always go towards the lightness and the more colorful side of the light within us, because there's darkness and there's lightness, and I just go towards the lightness because that's what lifts me up, and I want everyone else to be lifted up. I like to raise people's vibration up, and if they're open to it, because that heals everything to me. So I hope you can come and enjoy the show and see some, this is one of my favorites, called Questions and Answers. And it's about our inner light, that we have all the answers inside, but we are always looking outside for the answers. It's like, no, you're carrying it with you. It's with you. So these are different styles of paintings I have. Hope to see you at the show. And I have more of these if anybody wants to pick up.
I've passed out these announcements. Shaheen's painting is the one on the front page on the upper corner if you want to see the quote she read.
Yeah, the one I read to you. Well, thank you. Thank
You do
you.
the first Friday, the opening.
I think it's on a Friday night, March 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
'Cause that's always they do the big
Yes.
opening gala
With
the
music
food
and
the
all
music
that
and
stuff.
the wine and
Yeah.
and then the artist will be there to greet you. So,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the very first thing I noticed about you when you stepped up was your high vibration.
Oh, thank you. Yay.
We have matching leggings.
Oh, yes, that's true. We should take a picture together.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think we need a clap and a whoosh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.